Hey, this is Chris from Lamb of God, and you're watching TvWar on Mad TV.
Εδώ είμαστε στο TvWar του Mad και του Metal Hammer. Βρισκόμαστε στο lobby του Fuzz Club λίγη ώρα πριν ανοίξουν οι πόρτες, λίγη ώρα πριν οι Lamb of God εμφανιστούν για πρώτη φορά μπροστά στο ελληνικό κοινό. Πριν από τη συναυλία όμως των Lamb of God, θα παρακολουθήσουμε τους Descending, το ελληνικό συγκρότημα, το οποίο οι περισσότεροι από εμάς είχαμε την ευκαιρία πέρσι να τους παρακολουθήσουμε και στο Rock in Athens Festival. Μαζί μας οι δύο κιθάρες του συγκροτήματος, ο Θεό και ο Κωνσταντινάκη. Καλησπέρα, παιδιά.
Καλησπέρα, Χάκο.
Παιδιά, νομίζω πως η συναυλία σας μαζί με τους Lamb of God είναι μια πρώτη τάξη ευκαιρία να δείξετε το υλικό σας σε ένα κοινό το οποίο έχει να κάνει αποκλειστικά με τον ήχο σας.
Εννοείται, είναι και τιμή μας και μάθαμε ότι μας επέλεξαν κιόλας να ανοίξουμε το live τους και αυτό μας δίνει μεγαλύτερη βαρύτητα και πρέπει να βγάλουμε τον καλύτερό μας σε αυτό. Εννοείται.
Κωνσταντίνε, το γεγονός ότι εμφανίζετε μαζί με τους Lamb of God αποτελεί μια πρόκληση για εσάς?
Είναι όντως πάρα πολύ μεγάλη. Μιλάμε για μία από τις μεγαλύτερες extreme metal μπάντες του εξωτερικού και της Αμερικής γενικότερα. Θα προσπαθήσουμε να δείξουμε τον καλύτερο μας σε αυτό και από εκεί πέρα θα κρίνει και ο κόσμος.
Θεό, το όνομα του συγκροτήματός σας, Descending, οφείλεται σε τραγούδι των Lamb of God.
Ναι, και είδες πώς έτυχε, τους απορτάρουμε κιόλας. Ναι, βασικά είναι ωραίος Αλέξ, ακούγεται και πήρα την ιδέα από εκεί και ονομάσαμε και την μπάντα.
Ωραία. Νέο άλμπum από το συγκρότημα, πότε περιμένουμε?
Να περιμένετε μεταξύ Σεπτέμβριο και Δεκέμβριο, κάπου εκείνη την εποχή.
Πόσο διαφορετικό θα είναι το νέο σας άλμπum από τον ντεμπούτο, παιδιά?
Σίγουρα πολύ καινούριο. Καθίσαμε, δουλέψαμε όλοι μαζί και έχουμε βγάλει κάπως σίγουρα διαφορετικό αποτέλεσμα από το πρώτο άλμπουμ. Έχουμε βρει κάπως τον ήχο μας, οπότε πιστεύω θα αρέσει στον κόσμο. Ελπίζω.
Κωνσταντίνε, υπάρχει και ένα solo άλμπουμ?
Υπάρχει, λέγεται Shredcore, είναι το ντεμπούτο μου. Θα κυκλοφορήσει 2 Ιουλίου του 2010 από την Seven Heart Records για Ευρώπη και αυτά σχετικά με το instrumental.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ, παιδιά. Καλή τύχη.
Να είστε καλά.
Εδώ λοιπόν στο TvWar του Mad και του Metal Hammer βρισκόμαστε στα παρασκήνια του Fuzz Club λίγη ώρα πριν οι Lamb of God εμφανίσουν για πρώτη φορά μπροστά στο ελληνικό κοινό. Μαζί μας είναι ο drummer του συγκροτήματος, ο Chris Adler. Hey Chris, how are you doing?
Very well, how are you?
Fine. How? So at last you made it in Greece.
Yes, finally, 16 years too late, but we're excited to be here, and hopefully the show goes well and we can come back soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, tonight you're playing on a packed venue, sold-out venue. And did you ever think when you started this band that Lamb of God will enjoy such success in this little corner of the world?
No, in fact, I never thought Lamb of God would have the success in our home little town. We never planned on doing all of this, and I think that maybe that's the secret to some of our success is that we never tried to make a hit or tried to do anything other than the best music we could for each other. And I think that's been a bit contagious around the world, and now we get to travel, so it's very nice.
Well, in those 15 years, you have released 6 albums. 2 of them were into the top 10 in the Billboard. You were nominated for Grammys. I'm sure that you are proud for what you have achieved so far.
Well, my parents are very proud. For me, yes, of course. You have to recognize some of the moments that, the big moments in the band's history where we really achieved these things, like the Billboard and the Grammys and stuff like that. But we're very focused on continuing and working hard and trying to make tomorrow better than today. So we don't often stop to smell the roses, if you will. We just keep going. I think a lot of bands get to maybe where we are and they kind of enjoy the success a little too much, and then it gets kind of watered down and slows down. It's not as good, and I don't want to fall into that, so I keep pushing.
So, as a band, do you set short-term goals?
Short-term goals. It's so hard to even guess what could be next because we, like I was saying, we never envisioned even playing the big club in our hometown. So we're very flattered and obviously very lucky to be doing what we're doing. I think the short-term goal is to try to keep the relationship with the guys in the band and keep the music as strong as we can and basically to not break up and to keep making music that we love. And hopefully, my goal, my long-term goal is that when we're done, I can talk to my grandkids about this band that I was very proud of and the things we got to do around the world. So I don't want it to fall into this lame money thing where we're just traveling for money or making records because there's a check somewhere, and that I don't want to do. I don't want to fall into that. So for me personally, the short-term and the long-term goal is to try to constantly make something that I'm proud of.
Mm-hmm. Okay, today, June the 1st, you're releasing the compilation, The Hourglass, which is coming out in 7 different formats. And I'm wondering, are you doing this in order to keep related to the fans, or is it a way to fight the illegal downloading?
Well, the big thing for me, my part or idea for the compilation was to have the 3rd disc of the Hourglass anthology, which was a lot of the music that we made before we were ever signed, the tape that we created at a little basement studio.
Were you an instrumental band back then?
We were. The tape does include Randy's vocals. He came in just at that time, and this was music that we made and pressed ourselves onto cassettes and would send across the country and ask if we could come play a party or something like this. So, and the early 7 inches that only printed maybe 500 of these things. So I wanted to get these tracks out there to the fans that really like our earlier stuff or want something special. But the record label and the other guys in the band worked very hard to come up with different like you said, different versions of this whole package that from anybody that has, that just wants, that maybe doesn't have anything from Lamb of God. This is a great place to start because it's kind of a greatest hits, if you will. I don't know if a metal band has greatest hits, but as close as it gets to that. And then to the super fan, where this enormous coffin case with Mark's guitar and the flag and the vinyl and the USB sticks, and there's a lot of different versions depending on, I guess, how you fall into the band's history.
Well, is there any interest for the very strictly limited edition?
Yes, very much so. They only printed 300 of them, and just the pre-sale alone, I think they've sold 50 of those. So it's not even out yet, and they're 20% through the stock.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as I know, the band Lamb of God recorded the track for the video game Iron Man 2. Do you think that this will help you to reach a broader audience, guys who are not into metal music but they are into video games, so they might probably listen to your music and then become fans?
Yeah, I think it works both ways. That video game is probably going out to a lot of people that do listen to our music. It's very much our audience, but also at the same time, like you said, it works for us to the kids that maybe don't buy music or don't have access to our stuff and maybe hearing us for the first time on the game. I know when I have no time anymore, but when I was younger, I played video games all the time, and I'd hear these songs. I'm trying to get through the level over and over and over, and I keep hearing the song over and over, and then I'm singing it all the time, and then I go out and find the band and buy it. So it will. Hopefully, it'll help us see some new people. Sure.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that the music of AC/DC was the ideal one for the soundtrack of the movie?
Do I think again?
Do you think that the music of AC/DC was the perfect for the soundtrack, for the actual soundtrack of Iron Man?
Well, I think AC/DC is perfect for everything, but I wouldn't have minded if we were in the movie as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy for AC/DC, sure.
Well, okay, Chris, on your Philadelphia DVD, there is this infamous moment where 2 members of the band have a fist fight. Most of the bands would like to hide this incident, or they wouldn't like to share it with the fans. You didn't act like that, and you wanted to show the fans what is really going on within the Troubadours.
Yeah, I think that everybody has seen all the band DVDs of them sitting around drinking and girls and party and all that. So we all know that being in a band can be fun. What we don't know about bands are the harder times, the business side of things, the internal disagreements and the fights and stuff like that. And I think part of the success of the band and my part of the business in the band is to show a bit of that transparency, to let people in, to show this is what it's really like. Yes, there are good times, but there's also very bad times. It's like any other job. It's like any other family. And I think because of that, people relate to us as people, not just as a band. They recognize if they're in a band or if they're kids growing up, they say, I'm kind of like that guy in the band. And it's not just this weird musical idol in their head. We're real people and we go through problems as well. And we wanted to show that as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, the band is called Lamb of God. You have an album which is called The New American Gospel. You also have The Sacrament. You have Bible-inspired themes, but you're not a religious band, are you?
No, not at all. In fact, if we were called anything, I think it might be slightly political. But I guess with the name and the imagery, we've always flirted with this idea of religion. I think heavy metal always has. But for us, it's not about any particular religion that we are speaking of. I think for us, when we decided to focus on the record deal and to focus on our lives as musicians, we really gave a lot away in our lives. A lot of time with our family, a lot of time at home with our friends. So to us, it's almost like this is our religion in many ways, and I think that the name is fitting for us within the band. It's not a statement about any other thing other than our commitment to it.
Well, would you say that Lamb of God is a political band?
I think slightly political, yeah. But both Ashes of the Wake and As the Palaces Burn were very political records, and I think we all share a very common political viewpoint.
So how do you think that the present government has reacted to the oil spill thing in the Gulf?
Well, I don't, it's a terrible incident, and I don't think it's the government's responsibility to clean this up or to fix things like this, but I think the people that are responsible are obviously not doing everything they need to do to get it done fast enough. And I'm not there, I'm no expert, I don't know what to do when things blow up underwater, but I would think a company as large as BP would be able to explore options and put forth the resources to fix such a terrible mistake faster than they have.
Okay, well, Lamb of God is a band that is proudly waving the flag of American metal. And something like 10 years ago, you were dubbed as the new wave of American heavy metal, along with bands such as Chimera or Killswitch Engage. How do you think this movement it works now?
Well, I think that we never we didn't come up with this label. I think that was put on a group of bands that were kind of coming up at the same time. But we all were different bands, and we've all chose to go in different directions, and some of it has worked out and some of it has not worked out. So I think there was a time maybe in the late 90s, early 2000s, probably early 2000s more so, where there seemed to be this resurgence of good music coming from America. And so as the media, called it this new wave of American heavy metal. And I suppose just like the new wave of British heavy metal, you find these categories to put people in. We don't particularly think that we're part of that group. We don't go home and hang out with those guys. Not that we don't like them, but we don't sit around and, we're not a team of trying to, like a soccer team or something, trying to bring this overseas. So people have called us, in that group, they've called us the leader of that group. To have people talking about us at all is flattering enough. So no complaints, but, we'll just keep doing what we do.
Okay, so have you written any new songs for a coming album, and how will you try to top the Wrath?
Yes, we have. Not as a group, but Mark has sent me 4 or 5 songs or ideas for songs that he has. Willie has another 2 ready to go, and so I think we have a good head start on the next record. It's going to be tough, though, because every time we go into doing a record, the idea is to always evolve, to do something different and better than we did on the last one. That doesn't mean faster or heavier or anything, but something where we feel like we've evolved and challenged ourselves and overcome a weakness or a hurdle in our own playing or in the band's recording process. And I think Wrath was really a pretty special moment for the band, where I think it was the first time we all walked away very, very happy of the record. There's always been complaints or not enough time or money on the previous records, but this one was, everybody, gave it 2 thumbs up and said, we're very proud of this record. So knowing that hasn't happened before, I think it's going to be very hard for it to happen again, and for us all to agree that it's somehow better. So it's going to be a challenge for us to do it. But we have several ideas floating around about maybe we do a double album. Maybe we spend a little more time writing, and instead of 10 or 11 songs, we do 20, 24 songs, and try to come up with a more of a landscape album than just one big punch.
Kind of like a concept album, like the latest Mastodon, for example?
Possibly. There's a lot of stuff going on with the guys in the band right now, with personal lives, dealing with issues with families and stuff like that. And I think Mark and Randy, especially as the main lyric writers, certainly have a lot to say on that level. And on Wrath, I began writing a little bit, and it's really an emotional roller coaster to be out on tour playing what you love, sharing your art and sharing it with the people that love the fact that you've come and enjoy the show, and at the same time you're on stage and your heart is broken because your little boy or little girl is taking their first steps at home and you can't be there. So I think there's a lot in us that we have to talk about or to share musically.
So is there a chance to listen to lots of acoustic guitars and keyboards from a band like? Lamb of God?
Well, on Wrath we had a bit of a few acoustic moments, but only to give the listener a break, you know. So, and keyboards have never made an appearance, and I don't think that this is the time to go in that direction. I think what we've been doing is done fairly well. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was more or less. Just say something to the Greek fans over there.
Yes, well, thank you very much for having us. We're very flattered to be invited for the first time. We hope you're coming out to see the show. If not, hopefully we'll see you again very, very soon. Thanks for your support.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, man.
And I need an ID from you.